Hi there, it's Marzena. Do you know the phrase, a wolf in a sheep's clothing? I had this concept in my head lately because a lot of comments were asking me about wolves and werewolves. I wanted to try my hands on sculpting a wolf, and this almost chameleon-like concept appealed to me quite a lot. You can guess why. One creature, but camouflaged as another. But let's make a little twist on that too. Instead of a wolf in a sheep's clothing, let's make a cute sheep wearing a scary wolf skin. Let's dive in. For the head I chose Rochelle Goyle, because I love her frowny face and I think that the shape of her nose will suit a sheep's snout. But for the body, I will be using Twyla, because I want my sheep to be petite looking. The victims were chosen. Time to release my inner Sid. As always, I started by cutting my doll's hair as close to the scalp as possible. Then I submerged both dolls' head in a freshly boiled water for easier decapitation and hair plugs removing. Of course, I only needed one of the heads, so bye-bye Twyla. After wiping the factory face off with 100% acetone, I could start the head shrinking process. To everyone who begs me to wear gloves when using acetone. Well, acetone is not as dangerous as you may think. It is after all a main ingredient in majority of nail polish removers, and it is hard to use those in gloves. Of course, it is important to know your own skin, if it's delicate and prone to irritation. I know mine for 36 years and I have hands of a blacksmith. 20-second long contact with acetone once in 2 weeks does not bother them. And I use loads of hand lotion, so don't worry. After repeating the slow shrinking process thrice, I removed the ears from my shrunken head, trimmed down the neck bag, widened the neck hole, slimmed down the neck, heating up the head a little and popped it back on the body. To create a new pair of ears, I drilled tiny holes on both sides of the head and glued a thin wire in. Then I sculpted the ears from epoxy sculpt. I also added tiny snakes of epoxy to create a furry texture. When the epoxy cured, I sanded it a bit, turned my girl into a cozy burrito and sprayed her face with grey Vallejo hobby paint. I noticed that the granite-like texture of Rochelle's vinyl created some nasty indentations. So I tried to smooth it out a little. The result wasn't 100% satisfying, but good enough. I sprayed the doll once again with the grey primer and with 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear UV Cat flat varnish. And it was finally time for the face-up. Today I don't have any private, craft-related thoughts to share with you, but I wanted to say that the amount of positive and understanding comments under my last video made me feel way better about sharing my art here on YouTube. Of course, there were some people who disagreed with me or were just rude, but like 99.9% of you agreed with my thoughts, shared your own experience with mentioned issue, and were very, very respectful, wholesome, and understanding. I am so proud and happy that this channel and this hobby gathered so many great people. Thank you. So since there's not much more to say and the face-up process is pretty self-explanatory, I will take this time to talk a little about some general random stuff about my customs. First of all, like I mentioned many times, my videos are not tutorials, so I do not have a specific list of products for you to purchase if you want to do a similar stuff as I do. This is just my process, and what works for me doesn't have to work for you. I would recommend you to check different brands of crafting materials so you will have something to compare. Poppen Atelier made an awesome video where she used her incredible skills to test many different brands of watercolor pencils on dolls. If you are interested in such comparison, I will link her video in the description box. I started my customization journey with Koh-i-Noor pencils, but to be honest, I wasn't able to make a single face-up with them. Faber-Castell Arbrecht Dürer were a great change, but now I'm switching to Derwent Ink 10s. Also, I will recommend tutorials from Delightful if you want to try doll customization hobby but don't know where to start. She made a lot of videos about your first custom, including my personal favorite one to watch, Custom on a Budget. And we also can't forget about Mosaiquito's great tutorials for wig making. Amazing stuff, also highly recommend. It's been 2.5 years since I started doll customization, and after 30 doll projects, I can definitely say what I like to do with my face-ups. For example, I like small eyes. And lately I try to avoid acrylic paints as much as possible. I mostly use watercolor pencils and soft pastels. I use acrylics only as the final touch to add the catch lights in the eyes and to darken the lash line. I very rarely make my dolls look straight ahead with eyes wide open. I feel like it makes them look a bit lifeless and kinda creepy, not in a good way. Making them look a little to the side or just closing their eyes a little gives them some motion, and I really like it. As you can see, I gave this doll more sheep-like eyes with horizontal pupils, like I did on my center doll. I also gave her a split upper lip. I wasn't sure about it at first, but it grew on me, and in the end I am happy with this decision. I also love freckles on my dolls, no matter if they fit the concept or not. For example, this girl looked like a Dalmatian dog for me after I gave her freckles, but I couldn't resist anyway. I just think that beauty marks here and there add so much character to the finished figurine. Last thing. Many people are asking me, do I sell my works and do I take commissions? The answer to both is no. I only make my dolls for myself and as gifts for my loved ones. I might be selling some of my figurines in the future, but I am not ready to make this decision yet. As for commission though, I am sure that this is not something I'll be ever interested in. I value my freedom of choosing the concepts and making my own designs too much. Commission work was partially responsible for my burnout as a photographer, and I really don't want it to happen to this passion of mine. But if you are interested in commissioning someone to recreate your own character in a doll form, I highly recommend you checking out Pixie Nattery and her channel. She makes articulated dolls, not figurines like mine, but her skills, especially in creating very detailed outfits, are remarkable. With all that being said, the face-up on my little sheep was done, and here's a little comparison with the original. The head shrinking worked really great this time. I love her new proportions. Yes, this is the same head base. To the body mods. I secured the head with a plastic wrap and started the mutilation. I got rid of her lower legs and cut out the middle section of the torso. For better posing, I curved into the hip joint a bit. I sanded down the plastic panties and the plastic seams and factory numbers. I also widened the range of the movement in one of her elbows. I cleaned the workspace just to make more mess by sanding down all the rough edges with a variety of nail buffers, sanding sponges, and sandpapers. I wiped the dust from all the doll pieces and my table, and she was ready for the new belly and her final pose. I stuffed a small piece of aluminium foil in the upper part of her torso, because I didn't want the hot glue messing with the arm's articulation quite yet. Then I glued in a piece of wire. I waited a bit until the glue cured, and I reconnected both belly pieces with more hot glue. With this part done, I also glued her arms and legs in their final positions. She's not getting her lower legs yet. First, I wanted to cover all the upper joints and gaps with epoxy sculpt. I also sculpted a patch of fur on her chest. On the next day, when epoxy cured, I smoothed the transition between the clay and the plastic. I rinsed the dust away, and it was time to give her her lower legs back. The digitigrade legs, to be precise. I decided to make one leg at a time, to have easier access to at least the first one, and to not squish the already sculpted one while working on the second. Sculpting, sculpting, sculpting. Let's speed up the process with a little bit of editing magic. So, one leg, two legs, and a furry thighs. I could make the fleece from the acrylic yarn, but I'm all about pushing my sculpting skills lately, so sculpted fur it is then. And it ended up quite good, I think. She didn't get any tail, because I thought that it would just get in the way of the wolf cloak that she will be wearing. With the sheep part ready, it was time for the wolf. I adjusted the protective wrapping and drilled a hole in the top of the head. Then I took a thick wire and bent it to my liking. To make my clay stick better, I rubbed the thick wire with a thinner one. Talking about the clay, I will be using Super Sculpey. I really like this stuff. And I also bought the ultralight version, because I wanted my sculpture to be as lightweight as possible, but still pretty solid, not just a clay shell over a thin foil center. Off camera, I did a small test sculpting/baking to be sure that both types of clay will work well together. The ultralight Super Sculpey wasn't the easiest to work with, but I somehow managed to create a base for the hood/wolf's head. To make the cloak, I drilled 2 holes in my girl's shoulders. Then I tinkered a lot with the wire skeleton until I achieved more or less what I was aiming for. I wrapped the very thin wire around the thick one, and it was ready for the ultralight clay. I must say, I hate this clay. It was so uncooperative, so hard to work with. It's very soft and hardly keeps its shape before baking. I gave up. I removed the clay from the wire frame, destroying it in the process, but that's fine. I didn't have any energy left for work that day, so I decided to use epoxy sculpt to secure the position of wire ends in the doll's back, and leave this doll alone for the rest of the day. I smeared some Vaseline on the doll's body first, so the epoxy won't stick to it. When the connection was secured and cured solid, I once again wrapped my wire frame in a very thin wire. I ran a few chunks of Super Sculpey through my pasta maker to soften it up, and I covered my wolf cloak with it. I was constantly checking it with the doll and the hood/wolf head part, so everything will fit together in the end. I added some texture, especially on the inner part of the cloak. I baked it, and after it cured, I drilled 2 tiny holes for some wolf's paws. One will be made separately, so I will be able to keep this wolf's skin detachable as long as possible. Time for the part I was most nervous about, a wolf's head, or the hood if you will. My sculpting skills are leveling with each bigger project, but I still don't trust them 100%. And sculpting an animal head, yeah, that's a challenge. But isn't that what we are here for? So I had my base already made from the Super Sculpey Ultralight. I smeared some liquid Sculpey over it and covered it with a thin layer of regular grey clay. I sculpted and baked the half spheres for eyes and a bunch of teeth beforehand. I punched 2 eye sockets and placed the eyes inside with a drop of Bake and Bond. Then I just made the eyelids. Sculpted the lip edge and added some wrinkles to the muzzle. At this point, the sculpture entered the crocodile phase. Of course, I used multiple reference photos of wolves showing their teeth, and those helped a lot. But please keep in mind that I am not a skilled sculptor yet. I am still learning, so the end result might not be perfect. I added more wrinkles and ears, and we entered the hippopotamus phase, which ended, I hope, with the addition of nose and teeth. Now it finally started to look like a wolf, I think. Maybe the muzzle turned out a little bit too wide, but hey, it's all practice. Due to some unfortunate positioning, the biggest fangs broke during baking, so I replaced them with ones made out of cosplay that stays flexible when cured. All I needed to do now is adding all the furry bits to all the parts of the wolf. It took ages, but well, scales on my mermaids, spines on my cactus fairy, I guess this is my life now. At least we have some editing magic. I also gave my girl a tiny tail, cause the wolf skin ended up a little more fluttering than I anticipated, and her butt is well visible after all. To prepare her for body blushing, I sprayed her with a layer of grey primer and 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear. Body blushing was never my favorite part of the whole process of doll customization, but I like it more and more, and it always elevates the look to another level. And of course, I love adding freckles. I also made an attempt to make the fur on her look more detailed. Steady hand and painting nice thin lines is not my thing, but I tried. The wolf skin I sprayed with Citadel black and grey primer, and I used dry brushing and whatever else I could to bring this fur to life. Wasn't easy, I must say. But you know me, it's never about creating a perfect piece, it's about learning and practicing and, of course, doing the best I can with the skills I'm equipped with at the moment. Not too bad. I gave him one blind eye, painted the gums and palette with pinkish and the teeth with creamy acrylics, and I added some brown wash to them. The inside of the skin I painted red. I removed the protective wrap from my doll's head and fixed the neck imperfections. Put a gloss varnish on the eyes, lips and tip of the nose of our sheep, and on the eyes, nose, mouth, scratches, insides of the skin, and claws of the wolf. With this, all the sculpting and painting on this girl was done. I didn't want to sculpt her actual hair. I did tiny cuts on the yarn hair instead. Time to assemble her. With magic. Oh, I wish it was that easy in real life. But here she is, looking classy in her not that faux fur. I also noticed that I gave my wolf 2 left paws. But anyway, to the stand! It will be a very simple stand this time. I used my kitty litter and wood glue technique. I know you have missed it. This is my own technique that I came up with while I was creating my very first custom. I just wanted a grainy texture on the stand, and we cod people always have a kitty litter at home. And what's better to fix it on a wooden brick than a wood glue? I didn't expect that the mixture will expand, but it is a feature that I'm happily using ever since. So, a happy accident. When the mixture cured, I drilled the holes for the attachment wires. Yes, I added 1 piece of wire to the tail so the doll had more than 1 point of connection to the stand. The bigger hole I filled with hot glue and the smaller one with super glue. Hot glue in a bigger hole allowed me to position the doll as I wanted. To secure the doll on the stand even better, and to add more texture to the ground, I used AK terrain paste mixed with some brown acrylics. I let it set well, and when it dried properly, I gave it a dark wash treatment. And I painted the rest of the stand black. As a final touch, I glued some grass tufts here and there to make it look more interesting. And she was done. That was a lot of sculpting. I'm really proud of myself that I was able to pull it off. I really think that my skills are getting better and better. It will be so hard to part with this girl. But yeah, this project was very special because I will be sending this doll to one of my biggest supporters, Charlotte from CI Ponies, and her daughter Kaya. Surprise! Charlotte and Kaya are supporting me not only with their views and comments, but I also got not one but 2 huge packages of dolls to customize from them. With so many dolls that they've sent me, I just wanted to send something back. And Charlotte, you told me that Kaya loves creepy, dark stuff, werewolves and wolves in general, so this concept I made just for her. When I think about it now, maybe sending a wolf-loving person a sculpture of a dead wolf might not be as good of an idea as I previously thought. But, well, I hope that she will like it despite me being an insensitive ogre apparently. I hope you both will like her. I will ship her as soon as I will find the safest way to pack her, because this girl is fragile. Fingers crossed that she will get to you in one piece. Okay, so that was the surprise that I got for you today. Please let me know what you think about my ship in a wolf's skin project. I think she's a perfect combination of cute and creepy, but I will love to read your thoughts. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you are curious of what I will do next, and you're not yet a subscriber, feel free to join the community and don't forget to click the bell button for the future notifications. Also, you can check my Instagram for some information about my upcoming projects. Thank you guys for watching and see you soon!
Przytulimy się? To chyba znaczy nie.